What's up? My name's Ashley. Was just in the process of filming a fashion related video for my Instagram and TikTok, hence this. The theme for today was all about adornment for me and how I try to customize a lot of my pieces that I get bored with as a way of holding on to them for a little bit longer. This not included. This is my hat that I got recently and I love it, but I just adorned her with a few extra little bits and bobs that make me happy. An ode to writing, a key that I've had for ages, and a chain that I've had for ages too. My necklaces, which have all my family charms on them. My rings, which this hand is complete, finally, my collection. I just have to complete this side. But yes, I collect my rings really slowly because I like each piece to mean something to me. I have this that was thrifted. These are earrings. I was inspired by summer and I wanted to adorn the top a little bit so it didn't just look like bikini top over top. I've got my scarf as a wrap skirt over some shorts, my Jordans. And as I looked at my reflection, I asked myself, I couldn't help but wonder, does this look stupid? And then I was thinking, so what? What really qualifies as stupid for my own judgment? If I feel good in it, if it makes me happy, I'm in the comfort of my own home, then so be it. And I really use fashion as a way to push my creativity forward. I always find my best days writing, doing visual art, filming, music, singing, anything always comes when I'm dressed the way I want to dress. Sometimes that means I wear my cowboy boots inside. Sometimes that means I'm decked out head to toe in jewelry. Sometimes that means I'm just in a hoodie and some sweatpants or in a blanket. And nothing in that space should be silly because life is so absurd in and of itself. Not a lot of things in this life don't make sense. So I am so fascinated by our innate need to put sense to basically everything in life. We always require an explanation. We always require some form of proof. Say we want to pursue something creatively. We're like, oh, I can't call myself a writer until I've got a published book, until I've got an agent. We put so many conditions on ourselves, and I'm pretty sure this is something I've talked about before, of putting rules on ourselves, restrictions. And it seems nonsensical when you think about how absurd life actually is and how broad the idea of life is, of this universe, of this planet that we have not yet fully discovered. We haven't even skimmed the surface of discovering what is present on our own planet, on our own home planet, let alone what extends beyond it, what we know to be infinite, always expanding, extending. When you think about that, why are you asking yourself if what you like is silly? You know what I mean? When you put it in perspective, it is silly. That's silly. I have it on in the background. So David Perel interviewed Paul Harding. He is a writer. He won the Pulitzer Prize. The video is entitled How to Write Freakishly Well. There are so many amazing pieces of wisdom in that conversation. I'm still not done, but I just had to jump on here and talk about it because I was so inspired. I love listening to interviews, video essays, all of that while I film my fashion videos because they really just influence my mood, my creativity, the way I feel. I think it's really important in this age of just digital media being everywhere that you pick your poison, and if you can really surround yourself with really intellectual pieces of media, literature, whatever it is, the equivalent of eating lots of fruits and veggies rather than fast food every day, then your scope of creativity will expand and expand. One thing that Paul Harding said, which I'll probably insert the actual quote here, is,
I think that your writing can only be as good as the best stuff that you've read. And furthermore, it can only be as good as the best readings that you can give.
And I think a lot of people are coming back to reading, which is so exciting to see. And I do highly encourage diving into the classics. I love reading characters that you never really know who they are. Not totally. They always have some air of mystery to them, and things that you can create yourself, ideas that you can construct, things that you can assume about them but not know for certain. Stories that get put in your own hands. And I think that's true of everything that you can create. You don't have to be so literal with everything. And if anything, if you can lean into the absurd nature of life and of humanity, it will make your work, I think, a lot more, one, appealing, and two, a lot more human. I feel if there are all these little things to explore and pockets that are a little mysterious, I think it makes it a lot more relatable that way, because we don't always know everything. Half the time we know next to nothing at all about things. So I think that's really important. And I love this absurd take, and I think I'm going to explore that in my writing today as I sit down for my session with my poetry and with my fictional book that I'm working on. Even with fashion too, there's space for everyone to have their own ideas, experiment, and don't take your closet at face value. See how deep you can get, see what you can explore with, see what items you have that you can incorporate into your outfit. Find little earrings that you don't wear anymore. What can you do with your scarves, with your trench coats, with your old tops? Can you sew? Do something that's not expected of yourself. Above writing what other people may not be expecting, write beyond what you're expecting of yourself, whatever. Go completely left of field and see what comes out. And that's why I love the technique of flying by the seat of your pants, as Stephen King and Paul Harding suggest with writing, their own practice of writing anyway. Really just going in with the only expectation being to surprise yourself, see what comes out. I just love literature because it all applies to every element in life. You can talk about these things in literature and they apply to all scopes of things. It applies to visual art, it applies to your everyday life, it applies to your relationships, it applies to fashion. And I think that's an art that definitely should not be forgotten about. And I felt it was really important to share this because it is the full moon, which is the perfect time to share all the wisdom that you've gained over the lunar cycle, if you believe in that, which I feel like everything always does seem to line up that way. So happy full moon, and here's my nugget of wisdom. My favorite book on writing to date is Stephen King's On Writing. I love it because it's not prestigious, it's very down to earth. It's like a friend helping you to improve your writing skills. You guys know me, I share a lot of my poetry online, and I'm obviously open about sharing what I'm working on in terms of my fiction and my non-fiction. And I find it a really exciting process, and I get inspired every day that I get to translate that into other areas that I love, like fashion, for example, which is why I try to fuse the two as much as possible. I'm reading The Chestnut Man at the moment. This is a Scandi noir. This took me a minute to start because in the beginning, you're jumping around to a lot of different characters. You're trying to remember a lot of different people at once. And I think that sets the story up perfectly, to be honest. In the beginning, I was a bit like, oh my gosh, I don't know what, but then I started reading it more and I was like, okay, this makes so much sense. The beginning had to be that way. And now I cannot put this book down. I'm so excited to read it later with some coffee. Ugh. It's very dark. I love me a good dark story. I want to go back and read some really classic horror stories. Let me know if you're the same and we can share some recommendations because I'm always up for that. I feel like we need to start a book club. Me and my best friend are starting a book club. I think we should start a book club too. So if you'd be interested in that, let me know. And I might start it up as a chat, maybe on Substack. Substack would be a good place to do that, I feel. Let me know. But yeah, The Chestnut Man, I can't put it down. It's very dark. Obviously, it has some very dark themes, but I'm hooked. I'm hooked. Once I finish the book, I am definitely going to watch the movie. I didn't even realize it was a movie when I picked up the book originally. It was just at the local independent bookshop, and one of the workers there had put it up on the shelf of recommendations, and I was like, this looks interesting, like my cup of tea. So I picked it up, and she was right. I'm gonna have to go back and see who recommended it so I can thank them, because good choice. That's me. I think that's all I wanted to say today. Random little video, but keep being absurd. I think that's the main point. Keep being absurd. And if anyone has a problem with it, get rid of them. You know, taekwondo that shit. All right, I love you. Ti amo e ciao.